Enduro is not downhill. Like, that's it. Like, ooh, she's gonna do it, you know, like, so close to a win. And then something will happen and we're all just like, no! Yeah, it's massive. I think every Enduro racer's just like, yes! We finally joined the big leagues, you know? Because it always felt like we were just like the side project.
All right. Do we want to wrap up with predictions? Are we going to go that far?
Yeah, go on.
All right, then.
You go first.
Oh. Katy Winton, welcome back to the Downtime podcast. It's been a little while. How's things out there in maybe not so sunny today in New Zealand?
Things are very well. Thanks for having me back. Yes, this morning started with an epic sunrise. Lovely sky, very calm, very peaceful. And now it's just started like full-blown gusty winds and rain. So that was a bit of a surprise to my Monday morning, but apart from that, I've been having a really good time out here in New Zealand and just chipping away at training, and this season's just around the corner, so yeah, exciting times.
It is just around the corner. It feels like it's been a while since we last had a Enduro World Series, as it was called last year. Now EDR, Enduro World Cup, who knows? But let's chat a bit about it, and we'll go through some of the team moves. We'll talk a bit about some of the structural changes for the year, talk a bit about some of the venues, and then maybe pick up some kind of underdogs or people that we think might go well this season. And we'll start off with team moves. Let's start off with Yeti. They've got a new rider in the form of, and my pronunciation is probably going to be off here, Slavomir Lukasic. Is that right? Do you know Slavomir?
I don't, but I am glad that you were the one that had to say that name and not me. Yeah, this is a big move. He was on the Canyon Collective Danies team last year, which was a really strong lineup, actually. One of the female rider that they have is Gloria Scarsi, who just like came out of nowhere, track cyclist, into Enduro, and then like scored top 10s at 4 out of the 8 rounds, and was 4th in Sugarloaf. So he's come from that team, which is really exciting to then move up into this bigger league team with the likes of Richie Rood and Bex Barona. So it's going to be really exciting to see what he can do this year with that big a team.
Definitely, yeah. He had a few good results last year. It's a name that, although I can't pronounce it, I have seen it a few times, like kicking about in result sheets and stuff. So it'd be interesting to see how he gets on for sure. And he fills a space made by Casper Woolley, I guess, who had a really bad run of luck, didn't he? Like fast young lad, Canadian, definitely capable, like up there in the top 10 on stage times, but his season didn't start too well, huh?
No, and it was really exciting actually when he signed with Yeti in a big way to come out and do these EWS races. I think the whole sort of enduro scene was like, ooh, this guy is like so rapid, and we can't see what he can do. Wait to see what he can do at world level, and then just exploded, like crashing and then just hard luck, like that crash that he had mid-season on his return back into somebody on a pump track, like
who's going the wrong way,
you can't write
right?
that.
Yeah,
exactly. What can you do? It's just completely out with your control. So it was pretty gutting not to see him really push it last year and see what he was fully capable of, but equally very exciting to see what his future holds.
Yeah, he's on this YT squad, right? And it's kind of cool. It's a bit unique in that, okay, they're riding YT bikes, but they can spec whatever they want components-wise to put on it. Do you like that idea, or would that blow your mind? Like, there's a lot of things to think about.
It's a lot of things to think about, and I listened to the podcast that you did with JP, who's kind of the holder of the vision of this, and I just have a lot of respect for that brand, just kind of going, cool, that's how things have been done, well, let's try and do things differently. and see how this works out. We're all about performance, so we're starting again essentially, and the first time being seen on the enduro side of things with some huge names. And let's do this differently. Let's let the riders choose equipment that they're comfortable on. Let them experiment with anything that they want to run, which is really exciting. But yes, definitely overwhelming, because you as a rider have to make those calls. You could do anything. So, but in order to do anything, you need to test everything to make the right decision. So it's exciting, but also really daunting because there's so many options. But the riders, they've got so much experience of setting up their own bikes, making changes with bikes. So they can start with something they're comfortable from now. We might see them on things that they've been familiar with. But then if they've got the opportunity to then change that as they move forward, I think this is going to be an exciting team to watch, to see how they make changes, see what they decide to test next and what they end up sticking with, like maybe in a year's time or so, or even a couple of years' time. So it's definitely an exciting new concept.
Definitely, yeah. And especially as product launches as well, I guess, throughout the year, like maybe something will take their eye and they'll go and try it. But it's a cool little unit. So they've got Christian Textor, otherwise known as Texty, joining the crew. He seems like a really like down to earth sound guy, very much a puzzler. Have you had much to do with Texty over your time in enduro?
Yeah, bits and pieces. I always like a chat with Texty. He's just a really nice guy who just gets in, does the graph, and does really well. He's an absolute pinner. And in the podcast you did with him, he's talking about, I'll just, I'm quite happy just sort of helping the other guys on the team and just being the testing guy. It's like, Texy, you're rapid as well. Like, you could be the test horse, but actually you're still going to pull some epic results, I'm totally sure. And it's been really nice just like watching him this year, just being totally buzzing on like, being at Bulls for so long and kind of really running his own program, and then just being like, oh my gosh, I've got all the support, and like this is like the dream that I've been working for. Like, it's amazing to see that paying off, and to found his place within a brand is really awesome.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see if that kind of increase in support enables him to step his results up a little bit. And definitely the pace of the two guys that he's going to be riding with has got to help, right? You're getting shown the kind of speed from two of the fastest guys on the circuit. And yeah, so we can't not mention then Jack Moyer. That's a huge move. Yeah. Probably like one of the biggest names, not just in enduro, but in mountain biking as a sport at the moment, I think. Like, massive following, well loved by the fans. So YT have gone big, huh?
Yeah, massive. Like, that's a huge signing. And one that I think makes a lot of sense, like, as a fan, and I am an absolute fangirl. That's why I'm really excited about doing this podcast. But Jack is quite a free spirit, and just a bit, he's just so himself and quite rowdy, and just like goes out, gets, got a bit of, I don't know, like pizzazz about him. He's got, a bit of oomph. He's got his character, but he's also just rapping on a bike. He's not too serious. He's just like always having a good time. And then like that linking with the YT kind of uncaged vibe just seems to make complete sense. So I think when you, as a rider, align with brands that share your values, it's a force to be reckoned with. So it's going to be exciting to see what he can do. Obviously, he's injured at the moment with that a broken hand, and he's he had like 4 days on that bike and then had a broken hand, so not a lot, but the beauty of the situation he has is that he can run every component that he's familiar with and happy with, and just get used to a frame before he makes any other changes. So having that freedom means he can control all the controllables, get used to a frame, and figure out the geometry and his position within that, and then move from there. If he chooses to do so, he might be quite comfortable on everything he's got anyway. So yeah, it's maybe not the start that he wanted to have, having not had much time on the bike, but I think there's so much to be said with having a real good vibe within a brand and within a team that can count for a lot more. He's got the skills, he's got fitness, it's all there. And if you've got that environment, you'll just be able to unleash.
100%. Yeah, I was lucky enough to be at the first day of the team camp. I guess they all flew into the UK to do some stuff at the YT mill down in Surrey, and I was there on that first day. And admittedly, there was, everyone was a bit jet lagged and tired, but you could already see like how well the team was getting on, and Oshin and Sham were there as well, the downhill side. Like, and the banter between everyone was really good. Like Casper, Texty, and Jack clearly got on really well. So yeah, I think there's a solid little unit, and like you say, pretty good fit for Jack. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes. But that move for Jack freed up a position on another one of the top teams, the Canyon team, and that's been filled by Jesse Melamed, last year's overall men's winner. That, again, is a huge change from what Jesse's familiar with, but in some ways, a lot of similarities too, right?
Yes and no. I think he's gone from, like, Rocky did an amazing job with the resources that they had, and now he's with this huge brand in Canyon who have masses of resources to throw at this. And, like, listening to everything that he's talked about within your podcast you did with him, it's like there's a couple of components going on here. So he's shifted from his team that's familiar environment, familiar bike, all of that stuff, to a completely different bike, basically changing every single component apart from his tires, plus the frame, everything. That's a huge shift, a massive undertaking, considering it took him 3 years-ish to get that altitude to the really peak of its performance. Which, that's just the reality of it. Like, people think that, pro riders just jump on bikes and we immediately go fast. Yes, we go fast, but in order for us to, like Jesse, get to that real top, and we seen him winning last year, that took 3 years of building that, finding the real limits of the bike and where he can push it to and what's going to work for him. So now he's moved to this massive change. However, when he was doing it in Rocky, it sounded like he was doing a lot of himself. And training himself. He was doing a lot of the things himself. So he had a big project on. But with a massive change like that, he and Canyon actually going, okay, well, we've got an in-house coach, so you don't need to coach yourself anymore. We've got Fabian Burrell who can help guide with bike setup and everything like that. Getting him out to like SRAM and RockShox to help him learn about the product and things. He's got a lot more people helping him deal with a huge change, and also relieve capacity for him to deal with a big change like that as well. Okay, someone's taking care of my training. Okay, this is getting sorted out. Okay, I need to do a training camp. Okay, we'll get you over to Europe, So having more people is going to help him, and just a bigger setup, help him deal with a bigger change like that. They also seem to be really, from the outside, looking in at Canyon team, it's really performance orientated. And so he can just be a bike racer, and that's all he's there to do. So that's really exciting. And hearing him talk and stuff like that is quite analytical, really
massively,
methodical in what he wants to do and achieve. So again, this is another move that seems to make a lot of sense from the outside. As a match, we want performance. Here's a man that wants performance too. Off we go.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because it's like, I think you could go one of two ways, because Jesse loves a puzzle, as does Fabian. Like, they're super, like you say, analytical, really technical, smart, savvy riders. So that could just mean they get like a really good setup straight away and they get going, or it could mean they end up like constantly chasing that perfect setup and getting stuck in the puzzle kind of thing. And I don't know which way it'll come out. I think if his first race goes well and he feels good and the confidence starts to build, then it's probably going to go the positive way. If it doesn't go quite well and they're looking for reasons, then that opens up that puzzle, right? But I guess that's the same for a lot of riders, right? Your first race helps you build confidence. If it doesn't go well, you start puzzling, and let's face it, you're going to blame the bike before you blame yourself, right?
Yeah, from time to time. But the beauty with Jesse is he's won already. He's won these races. He's won the overall. The monkey's off his back now. He's not really got anything to prove, so hopefully he takes that as a way of relieving some pressure. And then it will be interesting to see the dynamic of like, do they get deep into the puzzle, or does will Fabian just be like, no, actually it's just stop now, or you know how that will all work out for him. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens.
For sure. And he's had a lot of structure around him, I think, so early in the year as well. He's been to Europe, I think on a couple of occasions. They've been doing loads of testing. They've been doing some racing, like within team camp. I think they were racing each other and putting time runs in, but also they've done some local races as well, which Jesse won, I believe. There was an Enduro in Dolce Acqua that he won against, there was a decent chunk of pro riders that turned up. So seems like he's shaping up pretty well, brand new bike, but we'll see how it goes for him. Be interesting. Yeah,
and having a coach in-house is, I don't know how normal that, like how usual that is within mountain biking. It's like people, like a lot of people ask me, do you have a coach within your team? And I'm like, no, I have my own coach. So that's like something I sort out myself. But having that alignment within the team and having Dimitri and Jose all under the same roof, that trainer can then plan sessions to say, okay, well, we're all going to do this one session together. Okay, you need to go and do this the next day, but you two can do, so then you can actually have training camps. The difficulty coming from with riders that have various different coaches is you go to do a training camp, but you're all on different programs. So you're not actually training together. So that really opens up the opportunity for them to go, okay, we are going to do like a week training camp where we are all going to work together on a similar project. There'll probably be differences slightly, but the majority are going to be riding and training together. And that is going to elevate each other, especially when you've got two other riders in the top 10 as well, and then Jesse. So like they're going to just keep pushing each other.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd never thought about that, but it makes a lot of sense. All right. Jesse leaves a big hole at Rocky Mountain. Let's talk a bit about that team for the year. So Remy's, I guess, sort of steps up to number one male rider. ALN's got a very different structure around her now with the team. Like it was all the mates kind of thing. Now it's her, Remy. Then they brought in Emmett Hancock, who I think was third overall U21 last year, and featured on something called Pink Bike Academy. Never heard of it. And Lily Boucher, who's also under 21.
Yeah, and that's a big change because it looks like Jesse has taken Tara and Adam Trotter, the mechanic. So
Tara's the physio, right, for the team? Or was the
physio.
Rocky
I think
physio?
she did. Yeah, and a bit of team management stuff. She just seemed to be totally onto it, which leaves a big space and a massive environment change within the Rocky Mountain Raceface team, because those are key players, and I know ALN and Trotter got on really well as a duo. And then Tara, they were key parts of the team. Jesse was a key part of the team. Even just moving Jesse out of the team changes the whole dynamic, but taking out that whole support structure as well, changing that is a massive shift for everybody to get used to. So can potentially be positive. It's just going to take a bit of getting used to for everybody to know each other. And then, Remy becoming the number one rider as well is quite exciting for Remy, because last year he had a really strong season, but he's always kind of just been a wee bit in Jesse's shadow. Yeah. So now it's almost like, cool, it's time to shine, boy. Like it's all you now. And also like when you're in a team and you've got someone that's fighting for a win all the time on pushing for that the title overall, when you are going for the overall through the whole season, it's stressful. And every race matters and every moment matters. And so being a part of that's really intense, even if you're not actually the rider that's doing it. But everything's kind of focused around them and managing that and how do we deal with this. And so that being taken out and it just being brought back to just Remy and ALN is really exciting for them, because it's just about those two. And they've still got each other because they've had a relationship the whole time as teammates. So, and now having like these younger riders coming in, it almost completes that circle of like, we've done our bit and we're learning, we're still pushing our top level sport, but now we're also giving back to a younger generation, and doing that forces you to think about how you're doing what you're doing. What can I be doing better? Maybe they should be doing this, but then I could be doing that better as well. And so then everybody gets better just in a nice rounded circle. You're bringing up the next generation and you're also continually improving yourself. So yeah, I think that's a really cool dynamic, and will be exciting to see how that team progresses as the season goes on.
Yeah, because ALN's had a few rough ones, hey? Like she's had some pretty nasty crashes and some really unfortunate mechanicals. Like the performance is clearly there, but hasn't quite been able to show exactly what she's capable of, I think. So it'd be cool to see that result get out there onto paper kind of thing.
I know. So many times it's been like, oh, she's going to do it, you know, like so close to a win. And then something will happen and we're all just like, no, we just really want this for you because you're right there. You've totally got the speed. You've got everything. You're like a complete rider, but there's just like little things that will just happen and then just explode. And then you're like, oh no, ALN, come on.
It's coming.
We really want this
coming.
for you. So it's coming. Yeah. It's all there. It's totally all there. So hopefully this year she can figure it out and start bringing home some wins. It's very exciting.
Definitely. Well, and it's a really deep women's field. It seems to get deeper every year. One of the riders, again, that has had some good results, maybe not had the luck overall throughout the season so far, is Ella Connolly. And her setup at Cannondale's taken another step up, hasn't it, for this year? Like she's got some teammates and she's got a bit more support there.
Yeah, that's massive. And so Ella's got Iago Garay, she's now actually engaged to, which is lovely, lovely news. And a part of sort of the athlete life that we don't necessarily see too much of because people tend to keep their private lives to themselves, which is completely fair enough. But the impact that can have on performance is huge. So if you've got, you know, if stuff behind the scenes is going really well and you're really happy and, you know, then that creates a great vibe within yourself. You feel good about yourself. So then you ride well, because our sport, it's not just about like going full gas physically. It's a high risk scenario and you need to be in a real good space to access that, you know, I'm just going to smash myself down this hill and it's going to be great. But if you're stressed and, you know, stuff's going on and there's this and that, you can't push to that level because you're already in a stressed state. Putting more risk on top of that is going to cause more stress that you don't have space for because you're already too stressed. So, really technical way of explaining it. Ella's got a really good setup. She's got her future husband with her. They got on really well, obviously, and he's a great support. It sounds like he's going to be taking on a bit more of a managerial role within that as well, so he'll be supporting too. So that's a really nice setup to be with someone so close to you. They've got a new rider, Max
Beaupre. I think so. I saw Max riding in the US when I was over visiting Nico last year, and he is lit. Like I think he works at one of Nico's parks at Canuga and does a lot of trail building and maintenance stuff there, and then races. He raced at Windrock Enduro, and I think he was the only one who got close to Richie because Richie was there that weekend. But he's rapid.
Wow. So quite like an underdog, rapid guy.
Yeah,
they could come and take things by storm. So that's another strong rider to have alongside them as well. Can learn from. That's a really nice setup that she's got, and we've watched her over the last couple of years sort of develop with that bike as well. And as it keeps coming back to this, it's like the first year kind of finding her feet on it, and then the second year just like boom. And this is going to be her third year on that bike as well. So there's just so much to be said about having a comfortable setup that you've had a lot of time on, because then you're not thinking about the bike, you're just thinking about yourself and your ability and your skills and how you can be faster and find the limit of that bike rather than trying to sort the equipment out in order to access that. So yeah, I think she'll be a force to be reckoned with this year.
Definitely. And she's already won the first Spanish Enduro round this year. So she's got a win under her belt, which is never a bad thing, is it? It builds a bit of confidence coming into the first EDR round of the year. So she'll be in a good spot, I think. Yeah. Another UK-based lady taking to Orange Bikes this year. So a UK brand, Becky Cook. Kind of maybe a bit under the radar sometimes, Becky.
Yeah, Becky's just a really quiet soul. You know, she's just a quiet kind of person, just lives under the radar, but just gets the job done. My goodness. She has been running her own program since being on the Orbea team and making ends meet, doing work at home, getting out to these races and still totally smashing it. She was 5th and 7th last year in a couple of rounds as well. Just pulling it out the bag. She scores well in stages as well. She's got pace. She's just never been getting the support. And this is kind of part of the mountain bike industry where they always want people that are in your face. Got a character. You gotta, have a bit about you, rah, rah. But there's so many people in the world that, you need to also show the people that are quiet, because there's a lot of quiet people that will also ride bikes and will really appreciate Becky,
Yeah.
She's quiet, but she's a shredder and she gets it done. And we don't shine a light on Becky that much just because she's quiet, but that's no reason. She can still ride bikes really fast and really deserves the support. And it's exciting to see that she's going to have that behind her now and have a bit of support and have a team around her too. So yeah, this year's going to be good for Becky.
Interesting. Yeah, looking forward to seeing how that one pans out. Another move, Melanie Pujan, Flo Nicolai are joining a brand I'd never heard of, Fulga Bikes. Do you know much about that?
No, I don't. All I know is they've got one hell of a squad. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, there is. It's like 10 of them or something.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. So it's mint. And a lot of pinners in there. But Pujan with Florian Nicolai as well. It's great to see those two joining forces on a team as well. Both absolute pinners. Again from the kind of quieter, understated side of the sport, but equally just get the job done. So yeah, a big change for Melanie. But she seems happy from the social media as far as I can see. So yeah, a change, but potentially a really positive one as she moves in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. And again, a woman who's had some insane results over the years, but maybe not kind of completely found her feet sort of thing. Yeah,
it was interesting last year because we didn't see the pace that she's had before last year. I'm not sure what was going on or where she was at or anything like that, but she just wasn't quite there. Not quite as aggressive, not with the pace that we're used to seeing her right at the top, right at the sharp end. She wasn't quite there. So maybe this changes exactly what she needed to unleash that speed again.
See what the Fulga's got.
We'll all be eager to find out.
Yeah. And I guess big news on the team management side this year. Martin Whiteley's moved into the Enduro side of things. We've seen him a lot in the downhill world over the years, but we haven't really seen his presence in Enduro particularly, not that I'm aware of. He's taken on management of the Polygon Enduro team, and they've brought Jack Menzies onto the squad, who was quite a surprise for a lot of people last year, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Just burst onto the scene and then just held it real fast at the top end. So from under 21 and straight in, seriously impressive riding and incredible speed. So it's great to see him join this factory team. It's a strong lineup. Brady Stone and Matt Studdart are both super fast riders in their own right. But this team is a really nice team. They're a group of really nice guys. You've got Dan Wolf bringing the chaos, bringing the vibe, and then the other guys are just Brady's an absolutely lovely guy, and so is Matt, but they're equally the kind of quieter, just get the job done kind of people. So I think that'll be a really nice team, and there's so much to be said about having a manager come in and someone to just take over logistics and figure a lot of that admin stuff out. Takes a lot off of the riders, and so hopefully that'll make the logistics and everything a lot smoother for the athletes, and yeah, just a bit more structure. So it's great watching that Polygon team grow and get bigger and put more in place for the riders and things. So yeah, they could be a really strong team in the overall as well. So it's quite exciting.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that as an overall play. They have got a good group of riders there. So yeah, it'd be good to see how they get on. Big change for Jack, obviously, completely different bike, a lot to learn, but yeah, good support there. So it'd be good to see how he gets on. Let's touch on Trek, one of the biggest brands on the circuit. Huge news across the board for them that they're moving to Pirelli tires across all the factory teams, which is a massive change considering that they have their own in-house tire brand with Bontrager as well.
Yeah, that's a massive, massive change because, like you say, in-house tire brand. When I was on that team, there was no movement within that. It was like, we run Bontrager tires, that's it, boof. So to sign with Pirelli and make that huge move is going to be a big shift for the riders, and it's a great introduction for Pirelli into the mountain bike scene to sign with such a major brand and major teams across the whole of Gravity. So yeah, big moves, but let's see how it goes.
Well, Fabian Burrell's had a big hand in the development of those tires, I think. So they've got that going for them. So yeah, hopefully, I'm sure Trek wouldn't sign across the board with a tire brand if they didn't think it was going to be competitive in all the disciplines. So.
Oh, absolutely. You know, you're not gonna make a big move like that unless you're sure. So yeah.
Interesting.
It's good.
And
puts Pirelli on the map for sure.
It definitely does, yeah. And I saw Hattie teasing like stenciled out bike in her Instagram the other day. So I don't know if there's a new Trek coming at some point this season. That would be interesting because we don't know much about any new bikes coming throughout the year. So it's always interesting because it's like you say, it's very handy for riders to spend a decent chunk of time getting used to a bike. But obviously if a brand have got a new version of a bike that they want to promote, then they need the team on it. So I'm guessing riders in that situation are kind of their hands forced, right? They've got to get on it and get up to speed.
Yeah, your hand is forced, but you just have to do everything you can to try and get the brand to give it to you as soon as possible, even if you're not going to race it for another 3 months or so. But as long as you can start getting time on it behind the scenes, it's vitally important in order to access the speed, especially if it's a big change. But even if it's just, like I've been on bikes before where it's been a slight geometry change, which hasn't seemed like that big a deal, but has been a big deal, like made quite a big difference. It's put me in a completely different position, which is all part of like learning. Like I've been doing this 10 years now and I've learned so much from changing bikes and what I like about bikes and going through that process in order to set up a bike so when they do change now, hopefully it's going to be a little bit easier. But yeah, every time it shifts and changes, the more time you can have on it, the better.
Definitely. And a little bit of a change for the GT team, right? There's a new tyre sponsor in there as well.
Yeah, and this is a huge move for GT because GT's always been GT factory racing, and now we're going to be GT Continental factory racing. So they're coming onto the team in a massive way, which is huge for us and awesome. As someone that's riding the tires, I can tell you I'm pretty happy about it. So good. Yeah, a massive shift for us. GT itself is moving into a whole new era. You know, it's changed to being under Pons in their performance alongside, you know, brands like Cervelo, Reserve, Santa Cruz, Juliana. So they're within that performance band within Pons. So they've now moved to California, back to their roots, and really just trying to work on coming back to the I've got a quote here from Jason Shears, who is the main man guiding GT through this whole process, which is really exciting. Returning GT to the spirit in which it was founded. So that is very exciting. It's going to be a longer term project, I would imagine, because it's a lot of work to put everything in place. Even just doing that move itself over to California is huge. So yeah, a lot of change going on in GT. Continental is a huge one for us as a team. And yeah, let's make GT great again.
Excellent. Well, yeah, it's definitely been going in a super positive direction, like some amazing results, some better bikes, or it looks like. I haven't had a chance to ride any, but some good stuff coming out of there. And yeah, Conti tyres, certainly on the downhill side, didn't seem to slow anyone down last season. I think there's even more teams picking them up. So yeah, are you running the same tyres? Are there enduro versions? Like what can we say at this point?
Well, I'm still testing. It's been quite difficult to get some of the Enduro tire casing tires to test on. So I've been trying different treads, and I've been fairly comfortable in the Crypt Total front and then the rear version of that.
Okay.
And trying that with the downhill casing has been mint. And then I'm just experimenting with the Enduro and just trying to find the limits of it and see what it's capable of in as much different terrain as possible, just to see, okay, that tire is going to be better here, there, and then I kind of like to just stick to the same tread as much as possible to limit decisions making. So the Cryptotal is mint everywhere, and so I'm probably just going to run that and just change between the downhill and enduro casing depending on what I'm looking for. For example, Derby is a little bit faster rolling, a little bit flatter. I'm probably going to run an enduro casing tire there.
Yeah.
Medina is a bit more downhill oriented. I might run the downhill tire there. So that's
the
decision making going
cool.
on.
Yeah, nice to have the options. All right, big news. No Sam Hill.
Ooh.
It looks like Sam Hill's just going to go downhill racing, which is fair enough. But that's going to be, he'll be missed, right?
Definitely missed. I think he's had a tough couple of years though, and maybe for him this change will be good. Bring his fire back and see him back at the sharp end, because he's just not quite been where we'd expect him to be. I don't think where he expected himself to be either. So yeah, change is good. Sometimes you just need to change it up and find yourself again. And coming back to downhill, I think everybody's buzzing to see.
I'm 100% not arguing about watching Sam Hill ride a downhill bike again. I think it's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was some cool clips from him in Cannonball, I think, in Australia. Just to see Sam Hill like drifting around on a downhill bike was pretty cool. But it'd be interesting to see, like, the sport has really, I think, changed a lot since Sam last race. Well, it wasn't that long ago. I think he raced Fort William 2017 maybe, but even then it feels like, the pace at the pointy end is really shifted. Like, I'm keen to see how he gets on with it. It's going to be a really interesting thing.
Yeah, definitely. See if all the years of enduro has brought new strings to his bow or not. See how that's changed things for him. Be exciting to see.
Definitely. And it sounds like Richie Rude might be dabbling in a few downhill races too.
Yeah, it seems to have been hinting about that a little bit.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see.
Little video clip last week of him on some kind of high pivot looking prototype Yeti. So again, seeing those guys back racing downhill would be interesting.
It'd be amazing to see Richie race downhill again, because it's been so long.
Yeah,
and after his success in it as a junior, it was like, ooh, what's he going to do at elite? And then we never really got to see. So,
no.
Yeah, it would be really good because he has got serious pace. So, yeah, it'd be good to see him mix it up with the top boys in downhill and put the cat amongst the pigeons.
For sure. And we were wondering where Eddie Masters was. We looked through the Pink Bike complete guide to the teams for this year, and Eddie's not listed against the Pivot Factory racing team there. So I reached out to Morgan via her partner James, and apparently Eddie is going to be at the first couple of rounds for sure, racing enduro. And then I guess it's going to depend how things are going, because there's the ability to race both the downhill series and the enduro series is kind of, I mean, it was always challenging, but it's pretty much a no-go now, I think, with the schedules where there's overlap between enduro and downhill. So people are going to have to pick one or the other, I guess, and focus a bit more in one direction. But Eddie's clearly someone who can threaten the top ranks in both sides of the sport.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, he's a serious contender on downhill, on any bike. Any bike. He's just absolutely rapid. It will be cool to see him doing both. But like you say, it's really tricky now when we've got these. It's great to see all the events coming together, but then for riders, they can't cross over to do both downhill and enduro. So that'll be interesting to see how people make the decision on what they're going to do does that then open up more opportunities of support for other riders? You know, so people just kind of stay in their lane. Okay, we've just got people doing enduro, we've just got people doing downhill, so we have less crossover. So then there's spots open for some more people to do enduro or downhill. So I don't know. But yeah, as soon as the rounds are together, I think it'll be really tricky to do both events, if at all possible. I don't even know, because I don't know how the schedule's going to work together. But yeah, wild.
Interesting. Yeah. And so Giant have picked up the Meyer Smiths, who I think both dabbled in both downhill and enduro last season and were very successful on both sides. Don't know what will happen with the racing split there, but it'd be interesting to see how they get on. And
a great signing. Those
really
two boys.
Good signing.
My goodness, they have pace.
The future right there.
Oh yeah.
And Josh Carlson swinging his leg back over a bike for some enduro racing. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. For these Tassie rounds, being an Aussie, you know, like, gotta get into those races. Yeah, he's been doing e-biking for the last few years. So it'll be really exciting to see him back on a normal bike, acoustic bike, whatever you want to call it, a mountain bike, and putting it up against the best. So it's been a couple of years and the sport's definitely changed and developed a lot since then. So it'll be interesting to see where he's sat now. I'm sure he's just as curious to find out as well.
Yeah, because he did a lot of commentary stuff, didn't he, for the EWS last year? He was like doing some camera work and bits and bobs. So yeah, good to see him back in the race for sure.
Yeah. Hopefully that all comes off, because it'd be great to see him back on these wee bikes, smashing it.
For sure. And let's talk briefly about Forbidden. So they've picked up Emmy Lan, who's a Canadian rider. She's only 19, I think, so she's still got another 2 years left in under 21. She entered 5 rounds last year and won all 5. It's a promising start to an enduro career here.
Yeah, absolutely obliterated it. So yeah, it's great to see Forbidden picking her up, and hopefully she continues on that trajectory and keeps pushing it, because that's awesome. Really, really solid results. So yeah, it's amazing to see now so many rapid young women coming up, under 21s. The elite field within enduro is ridiculous. It's so tight, so much quality. And now the youngsters getting support as well is only going to mean everybody's going to get faster, and then we're just going to have the depth of field is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So yeah, it's in a really healthy place, enduro. So big up Forbidden for taking on a young under 21 as well. Yeah,
I think we'll see some medals from that squad this year. Have we missed anyone on the kind of team move side?
I think Nathan Seconde signing for Cube Action Team's a big one.
Okay.
Because he was 10th in the final round. He was posting mostly top 30s, top 40s last year, like consistently. So signing with the Cube Action Team alongside Gustav Feldhaber, who's a Swiss guy. He's been on Cube Action Team since the dawn of time, I think. And it's just a loose unit, eh? So yeah, they'll be a good duo, actually, and I'll be keen to see how that team goes this year, because they went quiet for a couple of years around COVID, and now they've come back with a full squad. So they've also got Hannah Steenthaler, I think I'm saying that right, and Veronica Bushel. So they've got 2 women on their team as well, and Jonas Gouville. I think that's how you say it.
Hey, so they have got a full squad then.
Sorry to everyone. Yeah, big team. I'm absolutely annihilating these pronunciations, so tell me in the comments how to say the names.
People can get in touch and let us know how to do it properly.
Yeah, but that team will be really cool to watch as well. Nathan Seconde is a strong, fast rider, so yeah, that's kind of an underdog manoeuvre there that maybe people haven't noticed so much, but yeah, I think that'll be quite a good one.
Cool. Is that it? Are there any others we missed off?
No, I think that's about it. The one that I did want to mention was Arise van Leuven on the Commensal Les Ors team. She's a 16-year-old New Zealand downhill racer, I think. I don't know whether she's going to, because that team kind of dabbles with enduro and downhill, so I don't know whether she'll do enduro as well. But just to make a point, right? She was 2 seconds behind Jess Bluett's winning time at the New Zealand National Champs just a few weeks ago.
Wow.
But she came second. There was a girl in front of her that beat her. It would have been Jess Blewett and then these two under 19 girls, second and third. So big signing for Commissal Lazors. Such a young rider, but absolutely rapid already. So yeah, that's
Jess was podiuming at World
exciting.
Cups, so it's not like Jess is hanging about, is it? Even at nationals, I'm sure she's not sandbagging.
No.
So that's impressive
absolutely.
times. Cool. Yeah, there's some very fast women on the up. It's good to see.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit.
Yeah, I'm
then.
definitely biased. Let's talk about all the women.
It's all good. Let's talk a bit about the change to this thing being a World Cup then, because that's a massive change, and it's sort of been overshadowed a little bit, I guess, by all the change and the move from Red Bull to Discovery within the downhill world. But Enduro is a World Cup now. That's huge, right?
Yeah, it's massive. I think every enduro racer is just like, yes, we finally joined the big leagues, because it always felt like we were just like the side project poor cousin in the corner, just like totally legit and a really cool discipline, but never quite there because we weren't UCI, we weren't this World Cup scenario. So to finally have that status, it's just like, I think we're all just like, whew, yes, nice, finally, we're part of the crew, like we're in there, we're legit. So it's definitely a massive move for Enduro and definitely an exciting one. So yeah, let's do it.
Exciting stuff, but quite a change, I guess. Well, it's been changing a lot over time, right? We used to have these big 2-day races, 2 big days practice. That sort of disappeared, I guess COVID to some extent, things got simplified. We ended up with a lot more 1-day events. That is now confirmed. I think we're on 1-day events for the foreseeable, right? That's how it's going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. Enduro for the past 10 years has been an ever-changing, ever-moving scenario. So you never really knew what you were going to get that year. Went from these huge events, so 2-3-day events, massive days, to the most. Then everybody was trying to outdo each other, so everything got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it just dropped off massively and became really short and more downhill. And then you had COVID, where you were doing 2 races in 1 week. Then they brought in this pro stage thing that personally I don't think ever made any sense. But now they've got rid of that, so that's mint. And now we're just back to 1 day, that's kind of been standardized, which is, I don't know, it is what it is. I liked Enduro being the variety and you never really knew what you were going to get. But I guess this comes with the territory. We're moving into a World Cup. It needs to be standardised. It's just going to be a 1-day event to fit within the schedule of everything else. And yeah, I feel like a 1-day event without the pro stage is actually what Enduro's about. The pro stage didn't really make sense to me in terms of Enduro. If we had 2 or 3 stages, yes, maybe. But 1 stage on its own, it's more about Enduro's a big day on the bike. How do you manage that day? How do you manage, a mistake on stage 1 and come back for the rest of the day? Your nutrition, your food. I'm out all day. I've got to manage my energy as well. So yeah, it's coming back to that essence of just big mountain biking day.
Yeah, makes sense. Do you know if your practice day will be the day before? Because you kind of had, with the pro stage, you had practice day, pro stage day, which was kind of a bit of a rest day in a way, I guess, and then race day. Will it now be practice day, race day next to each other?
No, from what I can tell, and I've only got the schedule for the first 2 rounds where we will have amateur racing going on. So we will practice on the Friday. The amateurs will race on the Saturday. So we'll have a complete day off, and they will race on the Sunday. So yeah. That's another thing to get used to. Oh, we got this big day of practice, but then we get a rest day, and then I think what I used to love about Enduro was the build up of fatigue. If you had a 2-day race day, you had 2 massive days of practice straight into 2 race days. That's huge. So that build up of fatigue is another thing to manage within the whole scope of a week. Especially I remember going to one of these races in France. We did 2 days of walking the track. No, we arrived on Monday, we walked on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and then we just went straight into practice, boof, 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 then race. So it was like a whole week. You were very active all week, you know? So yeah, this year we're going to have to deal with that rest day in between. But in terms of logistics, like for us as riders and the mechanics especially, that's a lot easier because we can ride in the morning, do what we need to do, and then they've got all afternoon, evening to sort the bikes out and make sure they're meant for the next day. So it's a slight difference, but yeah, I'm just real stoked there's not a pro stage anymore.
What was it you didn't like about the pro stage?
It's just not enduro. Enduro is not downhill. Like that's it. That was trying to be like downhill. It didn't, you know.
Fair enough. It makes total sense. And it's a pretty short season in the grand scheme of Enduro World Series in the past as well. Like 7 rounds, we've had more in the past, and it finishes pretty early as well. Although
really early.
You start early compared to downhill, I guess, but still. Yeah,
but we used to start at this time before and finish in October. Now we finish in the middle of September. It's amazing. That's the earliest finish I've ever had. It's fantastic. So yeah, that'll be really nice.
Yeah. And kicks off with Medina and Derby. I've heard a few people possibly opting for shorter travel bikes for those first couple of rounds. Does that make sense given what you know of them? Like a bit more pedally, a bit less rough?
Medina will definitely be more on the gravity side, but Derby for sure is flatter and more. So the trails that we rode before were like rocky, big rocks, but quite round rocks. So they're not like sharp and spiky or anything like that. And it was quite flat gradient, a couple of steeper sections, but not for any extended period of time. And then usually because of the way the hill drops off, it's just fast, flat, kind of pumpy, amazing single track, like absolutely incredible to ride, tricky to race. And you want to be rolling as fast as possible. You want to have a bike that as you're pumping through is actually putting the speed into the wheels, and you're actually getting it out and working with the terrain. So yeah, like that was definitely a consideration for us in trying to ride a smaller travel bike for that. It wasn't possible, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of riders taking on a smaller travel bike for that race in particular.
Interesting. Okay, cool. We've got that coming up pretty early. Then we're off to Finale for some ice cream. And then we've got our first new venue of the year in Leogang. Do you know Leogang well? Have you ever been there? Have you watched downhill there or anything?
Yeah, I've watched downhill there. I haven't really done much riding around there, but I don't know if the Enduro is actually in Leogang. I think it's going to be in the vicinity. Okay. So that is yet to be clarified, but will be a good thing, I think, because I'm not sure how much is really in Leogang in terms of like enduro trails, so like just general trail biking. So yeah, that will definitely be one to watch to see what riding we find, because it could be anything. I'm predicting potentially sort of alpine style, walkery, tracky, potentially if they move us to a different sort of bike park scenario, then maybe a bit of that. But yeah, definitely high alpine riding.
Yeah. And the first combined event with cross country and downhill there as well. Are you looking forward to that, like the festival vibe, like with having everyone in one place, or is it going to be a bit crazy?
Well, I think I am really, really happy that Enduro has got a few rounds before we go into that chaos, because it gives us time to if, coming into the first race of the season is always a bit higher stress. Everybody's looking at each other. You're like, have I done enough work? Do I need to be doing more? I can't do anything about it now. How fast am I actually going? I thought I was going all right, but maybe I'm, all of this stuff. So you're dealing with all of that. And so to be able to go to like these races, which just Enduro, it's like, okay, it's fine. It's familiar, blah, blah, blah. You've only got that sort of to deal with. But the likes of the downhillers, where that's their first event, going into that utter chaos, still dealing with all of the normal first race of the year scenario things, that is intense. So I'm feeling like by that point, I'll be quite happy. Generally Enduro riders will probably be quite happy because it's like, well, we've done 3 races already, so this isn't really that big a deal. It'll be nice to be part of it and be within it. It's going to be interesting to see how it's run with 2 events there. Hopefully our racing doesn't get lost within the hype of the downhill and stuff like that. How that's going to be managed we'll be interested to see. But like I say, we'll have done a good chunk of racing by then. We'll have had a good bit of enduro. So...
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything about the coverage side for enduro this year, and what the plans are?
No, only from your podcast. that it's just going to be sticking with the highlights show, and I think that's all we can do at the moment, and we're just going to have to wait and see how it can develop. But I would really love to see a sort of drive to survive scenario coming out for enduro, because telling all the stories around it, I think, is what makes enduro great, and sort of highlighting that, it's a big day. It's tough. Ironman, people, they show Ironmans for the whole time. That's 8 hours, and people watch that and find out about it and stuff like that. You don't watch that because it's entertaining. You watch it because it's gnarly as. And I would love to see enduro being pushed in that direction of this is the pinnacle of gnarly biking. All day on your bike, you've got to go, you've got to keep going, get through all these different things, and sort of telling that side of the story. So moving it away from trying to make it this live downhill scenario, because we're not downhill. Stop trying to make it like downhill, because it's not downhill. It's not going to be anything ever like downhill. We don't look like that because we're tired. We've seen the track one time, and we've got to ride down it at the best of our ability whilst being tired. That's not downhill. It's not even cross country, because cross country, they're tired riders, but they know where they're going because they've ridden that track about 20 times.
Oh yeah, more. The amount they ride that loop during the week is insane. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, in short, I think we're just going to have a highlight program.
All right,
you can cut all the rest of the chat out.
All right, so there we go. We've got Val de Fassa, Luden Vie. Been to both of those before. One of them's combined with downhill, Luden Vie, which would be interesting because that's the first time for downhill visiting that valley. So we'll see what the track's like there. And then off to Port de Soleil. And this is the big sort of 2-week-long festival of mountain biking with everything going on. And I think the downhill will be in Léger. Do you know where the enduro is? Is it more like Morzine way, or have you not heard yet?
I think it's Morjans or Chatel,
okay.
Sort of, I don't know.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Again, no, just wait and see what happens, where we're going. This is the beauty of being on a team where I have a team manager. That's his problem, not mine.
This is very true. If you were privateering this year, trying to sort out accommodation and make sure you were somewhere near where you needed to be, it's probably not very easy, right? I don't know how much information is available.
I don't know either, because I'm not in that situation. So I don't know what races are being sent or not being sent. I don't know. There's just a lot of things happening and a lot of things going on. I don't know. It's a huge project. It's a huge project. And it's a difficult one as a rider, just kind of waiting for answers.
Yeah.
Kind of just waiting.
A big year, huh? Yeah, we'll know a lot more by the end of this year. A lot will have changed. Hopefully things will be really, really good. I'm sure there'll be a few mistakes along the way because there's a lot to learn, but yeah, hopefully it'll be a good year. All right. So we've gone through a lot of the team moves. We've talked a bit about some of the new venues. Other than those big names, are there any riders you think we should be looking out for this season? Like riders we think we might have a bit of a breakthrough, or underdogs, people we should be keeping an eye out for? What do you reckon?
Yes, I have a list here.
Go on then.
Alex Rideau from the Commensal Enduro team or Enduro project. Absolute underdog, but also we all know that he's really fast. We've seen results from him last year in the Enduro e-bike scene and in the EWS. He won? Did he win?
Yeah, Ludenvie, I think.
Yeah. Like, what? Just out of nowhere. So, and he was French champ, I think, as well. Yeah. like that guy, serious pace, serious skills, like really, really skillful rider. So I think we've just seen the beginning of him, and it will be very exciting to see how he goes this year. Yeah, I think he's definitely one to watch. The other one to watch is Irene. What's the second name? No, I should have written it here. Yeah, from the Sun French Connection team.
Yeah.
Another underdog, but extremely fast Frenchie. One to watch, for sure. How about you, Chris?
I don't have many on that front. I think Jack Menzies, I mean, he's sort of already put himself up in that category, I guess, but I'm really excited to see what he can do with that additional support. And then I'm sure there'll be some other breakthroughs that we haven't seen. I'm interested to see how Emmy Land's results start to line up with the elite women. I think that would be cool to watch because she was definitely on fire last year. Yeah, that's all I've got. Someone we haven't talked about, Estelle Charles. Has she had concussion problems? Is that what's been going on with her?
Yeah, Estelle Charles from the Specialised Enduro team has had concussion for a long time. Like, I'm not sure exactly when it started, potentially early last year. I don't think we saw a race at all. Anyway, I saw her in Crans, Montana, which would be in September, and she was just starting to ride an e-bike gently then, and she had more treatment that she was going to get in various different places. Anyway, I've just seen on her social media that she's starting to ride again now, so I don't know whether they found more stuff and she needed to take more time and do other recovery and rehab stuff for it. But yeah, I don't know if she's actually good. I thought we might see a return from her this year, and I was really excited about it because she's a really exciting young rider. But I don't know if she's recovered yet or not, which is so gnarly.
That is rough. Yeah, there's been a good few riders that have been out for really extended periods in this last year or two. Hey, like it seems strange that we've not seen that before. Maybe people just didn't talk about it. I don't know.
I don't know. I find it really interesting as well. The awareness has gone up, so people know about it more. Are people more self-aware to know when they're not okay, and so they're actually getting help to feel better more than they would in the past? Would we have just seen riders leave the sport before, whereas now they know what's wrong and so they're going to stay in it and they just need to recover? It's a really interesting topic, especially because we seem to be seeing more of them, and I don't really know why either. So, is it also because the riders are going a lot faster? I don't know.
I
have no idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely concerning for sure, especially when you see riders like Tani and like Estelle who are out for such a long time. The other thing is, those are both women, and unfortunately, our neck muscles, we don't use them in the same way as men, so it can make us a lot more prone to concussions. So that's another potential reason that women could be out for that bit longer. Obviously, every individual is different, and every incident is different, but that is potentially a factor within that.
Yeah, I didn't realise until recently, I think I'm right in saying everyone's different in the sort of G-force levels that they can handle before it becomes an issue for them. So it's not as simple as necessarily having like, oh, you've hit 20 G, therefore you need to be out of play. Because for some people that could be fine, and for others it could be a real problem. It's a really complex topic. I'm not sure how that one evolves, but fingers crossed. At least the awareness is there. That's the first step, I guess. While we're talking about Specialized, what about Charlie Murray? Someone that's had a few bright results, but doesn't seem to have quite like found the consistency maybe. But do you think we could see a bit of a breakthrough from Charlie maybe? Have you seen much of him while you've been over in New Zealand?
Oh yeah, like he just won the New Zealand National Championship, the first ever one. at Cable Bay, which is amazing riding. There is a guy there, Shannon Hewitson, who's a local rider, who's just one of those local riders that you get across the board who are just insanely rapid in their zone. Like, insane. And Charlie beat him, and this Shannon Hewitson was second. Like, this is insane. You know, you've got Eddie Masters there, Matt Walker, Cole Lucas, they all came out, and this Shannon Hewitson was second. So that's amazing. But for Charlie to, like, beat him as well, like, that's incredibly impressive. And Charlie's got it, you know? He's one of those people that can just really turn it on. He's also got insane fitness.
Yeah.
Potentially, you know, his parents were really fitness people. So he's got good genes, but also, like, I think just through and through and within his life, he's just been a fitness guy. So, yeah. I don't know what's been stopping him from pulling it all together on the regular, but he's definitely got it. So, yeah. Anything can happen. Each year is always quite different. So, he's always one to watch for sure.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Do we want to wrap up with predictions? Are we going to go that far?
Yeah, go on.
All right, then.
You go first.
Oh. All right. Should we start with women's?
Okay, yeah.
So, maybe this is a bit predictable. I think Ella Connolly, Morgan Shah, and Isabeau Corderia in some order, and I'm not sure which. Morgan is consistent, measured. She's been like chipping away at it, getting that bit better, bit faster, a bit sharper each year, and sort of, you know, second looked relatively not straightforward because it never is, but like she made it look pretty straightforward. Could that step up a notch? Don't know. Isabeau is incredible, like very talented rider, awesome to watch. Ella it doesn't feel like she's had her season yet, but we know that when she's on form, she can have some incredible results. And like you say, there's a lot more support around her. So I struggle to put those three in order, but it wouldn't surprise me for them to be the podium at the end of the year. What do you think?
Yeah. I have to agree, but I also have to throw in Hattie Harnden.
Okay.
Because she's just ridiculous across the board. Like, serious pace. She's just got a head for racing downhills fast, and just that fitness from all the cross country and stuff that she's done. This is her first off season fully focusing on enduro, not doing any cross country or cyclocross stuff. So yeah, I'm excited to see what that brings for her, and I can only imagine it's somewhere in the top 3. But also, you can't go past Isabel. She's just time and time again. So yeah, those two.
Yeah, I think Hattie's got a downhill bike this year as well. So that'd be interesting to see if that helps like develop the speed side, because she's clearly, I mean, she's clearly a very good rider, but she's had that cross-country focus, cyclocross focus, so the fitness has always been there. It feels like this year maybe she's shifted focus more onto like sharpening the technical side, spending time on a downhill bike, getting used to the speed part of it as well. So it's only going to make her more dangerous, I guess.
Yes, 100%, 100%. The tiny little tinsy wee gap that she had there is now just been closed.
This is it, gone. All right, you can start with the men's then.
Okay, I'm gonna say Richie for sure.
Okay.
You know, this is the guy in the top 3 that we saw last year that hasn't changed anything. You know, everything is the same. He's just got another teammate. That's it. And there's so much, like exactly what we've talked about this whole time, there's so much to be said. He's had so much time on that bike. He's comfortable. He's in the environment that he knows. You know, all of these things play a part. So, yeah, I have no doubts that he'll definitely be up there. I think Jack will as well. But I'm not sure how soon.
Okay.
If he'll be able to pull it out of the bag. Jesse will too. Other than that, I'm interested to see the Meyer Smiths and see how they go.
Interesting.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
Never look past Richie. A, because I'm a bit scared of him. B, because I think like he's super consistent. He battled. I mean, last season he had some pretty hard knocks, and he battled on. He's a tough character, and he's not gonna give up easily. I wonder whether the downhill focus will maybe like shift his focus away a little bit. If that goes well, if he's enjoying it, that might change things. Don't know. I have a feeling Jesse will come out firing. I think he wants it. Yeah. He'll want to prove it. He's got a great support around him of a really solid brand. So I think we'll see Jesse up there. I think Jack has a good chance, but starting any season with an injury, whether it's big or small, can't be easy. Like you say, it might take him a little while to find his feet. It has done in the past. Like, it took him a while to come back from that shoulder last year. Then we haven't mentioned him because he hasn't moved, but another rider that's increasingly comfortable, Martin Mays. I know he had a child last year, so maybe like...
And just had a new one now.
Oh, has he had another one?
He's literally just had another one, yeah.
All right, the sleep deprivation is back then, so maybe he won't do very well. But yeah, you never look past Martin, right? He had a couple of great results last year on that sort of comeback from becoming a dad, so he knows what he's doing there now. Focus back on racing, maybe. We'll see. And
he won Derby the last time.
There you go.
He's got good memories from there. And again, he's had another year on that setup, so...
Yeah, interesting. Well, it is going to be a great season of racing. It's good that Enduro opening the racing books this year and getting us going. So we've got a long time to wait to any downhill. So it's over to you guys to keep us entertained for 3 races in the lead up to Leogang, where you all get together, which is going to be really interesting as well. So I'm super excited for you. I'm glad to hear that you're going to be back between the tape. How are you feeling in general? Are you frothing to get back and get into the sharp of it?
Yeah, yeah, frothing and terrified. You take a year out of doing any sort of racing and you're always a wee bit like, oh gosh, like you need to find where the pace is. So yeah, but my running's been pretty good. I've had a lot of illness this off season, which has been a little bit frustrated, but I can't complain. The rest of the time's been good and we've done some good work. And yeah, I'm just stoked to be functioning as a happy human again, and looking forward to getting back with the team and back on the race scene. Will be awesome.
Excellent. Yeah, it's good to have you back, and thanks for taking some time to sit down and chat all things Enduro. And yeah, we look forward to seeing
anytime. I am a massive fan.
I never guessed. Yeah, wicked. We'll have a great first couple of rounds, and we'll catch up at some point throughout the season and see how it's all going for you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Chris.
Cheers,
Stoked
Katie.
to get hype built. Bye.
Cheers.